it will reduce the amount of water that it takes to grow crops. It's a powder that we sprinkle on the ground, and you can turn what's basically arid climates into lush farmlands. It's going to feed a lot of people. We can project that the crop yield that's coming out in this particular season will be able to help feed an additional 20,000 people.
Okay.
And that's fully feed, not
Right.
That's complex grains, complex fruits and vegetables and things like that. It's so.
That's interesting.
If you don't mind me asking, and I can only tell you I'm the UN. I'm not trying to make a profit here.
Right.
How do you make this drug? What's the
What part of the prunes?
What part of the prunes?
Okay.
Yeah.
So we use the prune mash. So that involves. That was probably what I was going to ask you next too.
Yeah.
But it involves taking out the meat from the prunes, mashing it out. To break from this for a second, it's not clear if you separate the juice from the mash.
Right.
But we need the mash.
Right. Okay. Gotcha. Well, I think that's going to be kind of the perfect thing right there, because I only need the pit. I don't need the fruit.
Are you serious?
Yeah, no, I just need the pit.
Okay.
Yeah. So you dry out the pit,
Okay.
and you crush it into a powder, and you
Okay.
sprinkle that on the ground, and boom, you got yourself a hydrator right there.
Okay.
That'll work out real nice. So I definitely think that we
Working
can
together to get the best bid is the best way to do it. Okay.
And I think that we can really knock this out of the park. So I think that you and I can agree, our interests can really lock in together here.
Sure.
So basically, I'll just tell you. I'll just kind of lay it out what we got here. So, we just need the pit of the fruit. We are also our researchers are working on being able to grow these trees outside of that climate that they're in, because I'm sure, as you know, it's difficult to do that in a place that isn't that.
Yeah, I'm tired of Pakistan.
Pretty much. Yeah. And we are also within a decent amount of time, we're getting pretty close to there we go.
Okay.
To synthesizing the powder to the point
Okay.
where we won't even need the prunes.
Synthesizing powder.
And
Just the powder, or the entire prune?
just the powder, because
Okay.
the powder is what we're going for.
Okay.
That's what we need the pits for, is to create the powder that will help,
Right.
hydrate the crops. I don't know if that's the right word. Hydrate the crops.
Yeah, it's
but-
kind of a weird. We're using a powder to
Yeah.
use less water. All right.
Yeah.
I'm not a farmer, but.
Me neither.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's your timeline on both of those things?
So right now we're looking at somewhere under 5 years. So we're doing the research right now. We're a little under 5 years, I think,
Okay.
before we can get those trees growing elsewhere.
Okay.
We haven't had any success with getting them to bear fruit every other year, but we are working on that as well. No timeline on that.
Okay.
But our main goal is to be able to synthesize this powder and mass produce it, which is going to be within 10 years that we're going to be able to do that.
Okay. So we actually have the same timeline for that.
Gotcha. Okay.
So 5 years to grow the trees elsewhere.
So y'all are researching that too?
Yeah.
Okay.
10 years to produce the mash.
Gotcha. Okay. 10 years to be able to produce the mash, you said?
Synthetically.
Synthetically. Okay. Gotcha. Okay.
So that doesn't really factor in.
Well, so, let's just kind of talk brass tacks. Kind of what it comes down to is that you're a publicly traded company, and I'm a not-for-profit NGO. I have the ability to research. You have the ability to fund. I also have the ability to fund as well. I honestly think that we could work together to do all these steps, to not only get the prunes, but go all the way through to synthesis. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm seeing a situation where if we can synthesize this powder, basically the UN can solve world hunger, and if we can synthesize this mash in this powder, you can not only lower cholesterol. Like I said, I'm not for profit. I'm more than happy to license a patent on this synthesis if you guys wanted to get into the agribusiness sort of thing like Bayer, to manufacture and sell it with no money going to us. We just are interested in getting as much of it out there as we can to feed as many people as we can. So, first impressions.
That's interesting. It's
Because
our company is not really in the agriculture business, but
it's it wouldn't be that crazy of a stretch, because the difference between synthesizing the mash and synthesizing the powder, I'm certain that you could do that. And although I may be a pinko commie hippie working for the UN, I can tell you that I would be more than willing to let you license this product, to license this powder. You can have the powder, you can have the mash, and you can sell it anywhere in the developed world that you want. US, I'm talking US, EU, China, even South America, see where we are in 10 years globally. And you just let me buy it at cost from you and use it for humanitarian reasons in the developing world, maybe India, Pakistan, Africa, Middle East, Indonesia.
definitely an interesting idea. It's invent new outcomes for mutual gain type of scenario.
Yeah, because like I said, and we would definitely have to hash out the details, but I think that if we could get to that point where I'm licensing this powder to you, so I'll own the patent on it, our researchers are working on it, they're getting towards it, and you make agricultural products with it and any derivative of it, you sell it anywhere in the world you want, we buy it at cost. Not only are you making a good amount of money, but your name is associated with the UN, you're, being humanitarians, we're working behind the scenes, we don't need the glory, we've got the budgets of 200 countries behind us, but your shareholders will be really happy with that.
So that's great, and definitely something our company, I'm sure, would be interested in.
Yeah.
My main goal here today, I'm the head of the research on this cholesterol drug.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, the most important thing to us is going ahead and getting our hands on some of the prunes.
Okay.
Obviously,
So-
one of our biggest concerns is there are other parties bidding for these prunes, so it's just putting together the most competitive bid.
You got it. Well, tell you what, I'll go ahead and make you an offer right here. Whatever you think is going to be the best bid for your company and your shareholders, the UN will subsidize it by half. Up to a certain point.
Okay.
But I know you don't want to spend a ton of money.
Right.
We certainly can't. But whatever it is you're doing, because I figure you need the fruit, we need the prunes, and we'll subsidize half the cost of it, whatever the bid you feel is appropriate to bid to the Ministry of Agriculture. And we'll take the prunes off your hands and write you a receipt so that you can write it off on your taxes.
It's not a bad idea. Let's see.
Got this really nice paper from work
It's
today.
a cardstock.
It's like a really good heavy.
So, do you have an idea in mind of what a competitive bid would look like all in?
Honestly, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's nuts. I haven't bid on these before. This
Okay.
is all new to us. But we could consider it sort of a blind bid.
Right.
That so here's what we'll offer, because I know our budget,
Right.
or roughly what our budget is. we can do up to half or $1.5 million
Okay.
for this year's crop.
For
For
half.
for half, but we get all the pits.
Okay. Okay. So, we think charity and helping the UN is great, but it's definitely not, our main focus, and especially not my department. So, it's not really something that, I'm interested in it, but it's not really something that gets me, excited.
Yeah, sure.
Just to speak frankly.
Yeah, that's totally fine.
But I see where you're coming from, and I like the idea.
Let me feed the people. I'll take care of that.
Okay.
We'll just talk prunes.
So if you could do 75% subsidizing, that's something I could agree to. So you're still coming out ahead. I mean, you have your budget.
Mm-hmm.
You're feeding the people.
Okay. I can only do 75% up to. Okay.
And the reason I'm
Yeah.
considering not doing a 50-50 is because of your offer to let us use the powder in the developed countries.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So run me through that one more time. So you're saying, so we pay 75% of the cost,
Right.
and using this, and the reason being is because we're going to use this powder in the rest of the developed world, or
The reason why it wouldn't be we each pay an equal amount
Mhm.
is because of your offer to say, okay, we're gonna let your company, you're gonna let us license this powder in the developed world while you guys take care of the undeveloped world. Is that what your offer was? Or
well,
am I misunderstanding?
so basically, let me go ahead and write it out.
Okay.
I'll kind of hit you with what I'm thinking here. I really hope that that is a permanent marker.
Okay. That's dangerous to have.
I
those,
know, right? Yeah. Is that? That sucks. We got. Let's see. That's not anything. That's better. All right. So here's I'll just write out my first proposal here. So
Okay.
So where I'm at right now is 50-50 split on this year's prune harvest, where you make the bid that's good for your company,
Okay.
and we subsidize half the cost, whatever it is, up to, and this is just.
So just for mathematically sake, would it be 150?
So in your case, let's say you made a $3 million bid,
You
I would
would
pay
pay
1.5.
Okay.
Yeah. So 50-50 and up to 1.5 million. Okay. Number two is we're working on these trees here. We're working on being able to grow them outside of it. So what we would be willing to do is if we partnered, again, 50-50 on the research part of it, splitting the cost, splitting the researchers. Basically, I'm talking about creating a joint partnership that would be in charge of researching, and we split the cost 50-50. So, tree research.
So sharing our research on the trees.
Sharing our
potentially
research,
getting
but
it
at the
earlier.
end of the day, what you get is all the IP. I'm talking if there's any sort of GMO or anything like that, anything, basically you get the right to do whatever you want with these trees, so long as every tree that you plant, we get the pits from them. So we'll give up even the licensing. We don't want any money from it. We just want the pits, okay?
Yeah.
So tree research,
Okay.
you get, and what was the name of your company again? I apologize.
It is, I should know that, Technogen.
All right, so I'm gonna do TG gets IP, UN gets all TG's pits. That's number 2. All right, number 3. As part, and let me amend this. I'm gonna take out tree and I'm gonna put research right there. We're working on research all together, so we'll help you research that mash if you help us research this stuff.
Okay.
We're pulling our resources here, all 50-50, okay? But at the end of it, we get the IP for the powder, you get the IP for the mash, okay? Because that's kind of our end goals here, you
Okay.
know what I mean? So UN gets powder. I'm gonna put IP here. Tree IP. UN gets powder IP. TG gets MASH IP at the end of this research process, okay? Number 4, I feel that your company is probably gonna be better set up to mass produce this stuff. So what we would be willing to do is license this IP to you, not for a cost. We don't want any money from you. All we want is for you to make this powder alongside your mash, and what we get out of that is the ability to buy it from you at cost. Okay? So whatever the materials costs are, that's what we pay. So I'll say UN buys powder at cost. TG can MFG manufacture and sell powder in, I've got a list of places that I'd be cool with this happening. If you don't mind me writing that down real quick.
Yeah, sure.
All right. US, Canada, EU, UK. Imagine Brexit will be over by that point. Australia and China. And we're not looking for any sort of money from those sales. We're just looking for you to manufacture it.
Okay.
That's all. And that's our offer right there. So, kind of recap. We go in 50-50 on the prunes, up to, just because of our budget, 1.5 million from us. And then go and have
So
some
when you say
research.
50-50, do you mean?
So if it's less than 50-50, I'm not giving you 1.5.
Okay.
If you are able to negotiate 1.5 million for the whole thing, I'll give you 750,000. But if you negotiate with, the,
So you want us to put in, let's say, we want to put in a bid together.
yeah,
Do you want? Okay, we'll put in 1.5. You put in 1.5. And we'll get to 3.
we'll put in a co-bid of 3, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Let's see. But you think 3 is going to win the bid? So that's a
I mean, 3's a lot. I'll tell you what, if you can match us, only if you match us, we'll do.
I'm fine matching up to. We can match more as long as
Yeah.
it's a fair agreement.
Oh yeah, no, I mean I think 50-50 is only fair enough.
Okay.
Especially considering everything else we're looking at. I have all these notes and it's all on rate paper. I'll tell you that. Budget. Okay, I can go. I think that we should co-submit a bid for 5 million, 2.5 each.
Okay.
What do you think about that? I think that 2.5 will be enough
5
to,
million. Okay.
yeah, 2.5 each, 5 million total bid will be enough to clinch it.
That does sound competitive.
So let me just tentatively update that here. 2.5 each. 5 million total. Handwriting's terrible, sorry about that. That's fine.
viewers.
Okay. So what do we think about that first point?
I like the 5. I think that's much more competitive.
Uh-huh.
Everything else sounds good. So, what are you thinking about future years? So this is just,
Mm-hmm.
you know, we can't control bids in future years. Are we going to have the same agreement for years?
Yeah. Well,
For the next 5 or 2 harvests?
I won't necessarily want to lock in for the next 2 harvests, but what I can lock in is a promise to. So when I say that, I mean I don't want to just say, yeah, I'm going to give you $2.5 million every 2 years for the next couple of ones, but I'd be more than happy to go 50-50 with you and work out a bid over the next couple of harvests until
Work
we
together on a bid.
until we can start making our own trees.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense since we need different parts of the prunes.
Right. I think this is because we're kind of pulling our resources instead of one of us having to spend $5 million on these prunes, and so we'd be more than happy to do 2.5 this time, and for the next 2 harvests,
Okay.
the UN will go in 50-50 with you.
Okay. I'm trying to think if we're covering everything.
Mm-hmm.
So, let's see how we're doing on time. We're good.
Yeah.
So, I guess just so we can have a lot of things to write about,
Yeah.
who's going to take control of the prunes initially if we do win the bid?
I would be more than happy to let y'all take control of the prunes.
Okay.
In fact, tell you what.
That probably makes sense because then it's easier to get the mash.
Get the
and then
mash.
send you guys the prunes.
That way it's not spoiling. Yeah. We'd be more than happy to come pick those up too.
Okay.
Receipt in hand.
Take the prunes, we'll process them and get the pits ready.
Mhm.
Send you guys the pits, you'll make your powder, and then we'll get together on our research.
And when we get together on research, I think just out of fairness, the best way to do that would be to establish a partnership. Just an actual legal entity partnership. Y'all are located in the U.S., right?
Yep.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, and I'm out of New York, so we can just set up a research partnership,
Okay.
and that's funded by both the UN and your company, just down the middle, 50-50. That will be researching
Okay.
the trees, how to get them to grow outside of that one area, and how to synthesize that mash, and how to synthesize our powder.
Okay.
And at the end of it, you get all the tree IP. Just we don't want the tree IP. We just want your pits.
Okay. So one thing, I know when I take this to my boss, he's gonna ask, what did you do to kind of, even further the interest of the company?
Yeah.
So I like the idea of getting the research and splitting the deal. I think that's all fair.
Mm-hmm.
One thing though, since we're gonna be initially taking control of prunes, shipping them back to our plants in California and processing them, can we add Mexico to the list of countries? So I know they're kind of on that border of what's a developed country,
Yeah.
but most of their farming is sold to developed countries.
Okay, so what I'll do with Mexico, and if you can throw in,
Because I'm just thinking it's going to cost probably, $500,000 or something for us to initially process these prunes.
Right. Okay, so here's what I'll say. Here's what I'll do with Mexico. Is y'all are more than welcome to sell it.
Okay.
Anyone who can't afford it in Mexico, we can go help them out.
Okay.
How's that sound?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay. We'll agree to not undercut you and give it to everyone, but we will absolutely y'all can sell it anywhere in North America. Tell you what, we'll just say all of North America. I'll even include Central America in there.
Okay.
But we will stay out of these countries here.
Okay.
We won't
We'll
do
have
it.
that agreement for Central America.
Yeah, and we'll have that agreement for Central America and Mexico that will be, and we can figure out, do some studies and figure out how much this is going to cost and
Okay.
everything, and a farmer who can't afford it will create some
Use
sort
some
of
objective
grant
criteria.
program. Yeah, use some objective criteria exactly to figure out who in Mexico and Central
Okay.
America can get it. So part of this here, we'll put a sub agreement here. That's going to be Central America and Mexico. We can do TG cell, UN. We'll put HUM for humanitarian things, and we can write that all up.
Sounds good. Where can we add some more like meat to this as far as
Yeah.
more win-wins all around?
We're getting a lot of good win-wins with the 50-50 splits on researching and purchasing. I think that's pretty good because it's lowering all of our costs across the board. At least when it comes to the trees, we're not doing redundant research there. Tell you what, let's see.
Let me ask you this.
Yes.
So how about you've been willing to make some concessions with the research and the powder and everything. We appreciate that.
Yeah.
We'll throw in, I feel like the research is a little bit redundant.
Mhm.
We're both on track. I don't think pooling, and you can tell me if you disagree, I'm not sure if pooling would help us get to 5 years faster.
Pulling our.
If we work together on the research, is it going to change the timeline for how soon, do you think?
Well, I think that if we're pulling, we'll probably end up both downsizing our research departments,
Okay.
and any of that extra money I think can go towards at least speeding up the process a little bit. That's kind of my rationale behind it.
Okay.
Is it's sort of a, I mean, it's unfortunate for the folks in our research departments, but we may have some redundancies there. We'll have to downsize. That's just the way that it goes. But I think that by pulling the research, we're at least also pulling the funding. POOLING, pulling the funding.
Yeah.
And my thought process too behind combining them would be that this is one fruit that we're talking about here. There could be a lot of sort of cross sort of things that happen where if we're researching something with the tree, we can get, the pit department. I'm not a scientist, but
The fit department.
yeah.
I mean, I'm cool with everything on the board so far.
Okay.
It's just making as complete of an agreement as possible.
Yeah.
To have a 4-page reflection.
Right. Yeah.
Let's see.
I mean, if we want to pretend that this was way more contentious than it was,
Yeah.
Excuse me. And we're clear that when it comes to the mash and the powder, those two kind of final end products, you're going to be manufacturing both of them, which we do appreciate. But
You'll buy it at cost.
we'll buy it from you at cost,
Okay.
the powder from you at cost, and we retain the patent on it, but we are not interested in selling it. And I'd be more than happy to include in the agreement that you are going to be, you have exclusive manufacturing rights to it.
Okay.
Just no IP.
Yeah, this is off topic, but there's actually really complicated rules about patenting plants. It's like, it's not a given that you can actually get a patent
Gotcha.
on a plant. I
You-
think we can just
But
ignore
you
that
can,
and just.
yeah.
but-
When it comes to the trees, up
Yeah.
there, yeah, we can definitely patent a synthetic
Yeah,
derivative,
that's true.
though.
That's true.
What do you think?
I mean, this all sounds good. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else.
I'll tell you what do you think of it? I'm gonna start writing some stuff up.
Okay. So within our budget, we could go a little bit higher. One of the things when I talked to Dr. Kohut was part of our evaluation is making the most competitive bid
Yeah.
possible. We could put in, up to 2 more million total.
Well,
I'm not sure my boss is gonna go for more than a 50-50 split though.
yeah, no, do you think that the extra amounts in our budget could then be dedicated to speeding up research?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'd love to go in there and win the bid at 5.
Mm-hmm.
And if you think that's competitive, we'll just write this contract down and call it a day.
I think it's competitive.
Okay.
I think it's competitive because if we were to go at this solo, 5 is probably what we'd each roughly be spending.
Okay.
I would call that a win-win.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
If you want, tell you what, and only if you wanted to. 3, I think 3 is going to be the max for me, but
Okay.
3 each to make it a $6 million bid. I just don't want us both to get taken by
Right.
the Ministry of Agriculture.
Sure. I mean, who else could be bidding on these prunes?
I don't see a ton of people banging down the door to get into these negotiations. So.
I'm just wondering if there's anything we're missing.
Yeah.
I don't think so, though.
All right. So I'm going to walk this through one more time, and then you tell me if this all sounds right to you. It sounds good.
Okay.
So we're going to submit a joint bid for these prunes. We're both going to put in $2.5 million.
3.
3, we're going to do 3? Okay. I'm okay with 3. Yeah.
Okay.
No more than 3, though. I think we're both being dumb at that point if we go higher than that.
Okay.
All right. So we're going to submit a joint bid, $3 million each, for a $6 million total bid to buy this year's prunes. Okay? Let's put a sub-agreement with this. We agree for the next 2 harvests over the course of 6 years. So 6 years from today.
Right.
6 years, we agree to renegotiate and but we are right now agreeing to a 50-50 split on those harvests for the next 6 years. $50-50 split of bid for the next 2 harvests. And I think it goes without saying, contingent on the fact that if in 2 years we can start growing our own trees, there's no reason for us to go buying these.
Yeah. That sounds good.
Okay, so that's that. Then we're gonna create a joint partnership. Do partnership here, partnership. So we're gonna create a research partnership wherein we split all the costs 50-50 as well as all of the research 50-50. At which point, at the end of it, after this research, so this research partnership is focused on growing the trees in a different climate, developing a synthetic version of the mash, and a synthetic version of the powder. Those are kind of the 3 main objectives.
Right.
At the end of that, once all of that research is done, your company will own the intellectual property for the trees, and in your orchards, when you grow these trees and process the prunes, we get all the pits. And
At cost.
no, with the trees, we get the pits. The
Okay.
cost part, that comes with the synthetic powders.
Oh, the synthetic powder, okay.
Yeah. So when it comes to the organic powder, we have the ability right now to create our own powder from the mashing of the pits.
Right.
We don't have a full-fledged synthetic
Okay, manufacturing.
manufacturing sort of thing. I figure since you guys you probably are maybe a little bit more set up to do that sort of thing.
Probably.
Yeah. So you get all the intellectual property, you can grow as many trees as you want, harvest as many prunes as you want, obviously, it's all yours, we just get all the pits
Okay.
from that. And like I said, we'd be more than happy to write you a receipt. I keep saying that as a joke, but I think that'll be a real sort of windfall, donating
Yeah.
half of, your inventory, to the UN. Okay, once the mash is synthesized, you guys get all the mash you want. That's all yours. Once the powder is synthesized, we get to hold on to the intellectual property rights for the powder, and you agree to manufacture this powder. However, you also get to sell that powder in these countries right here exclusively without any of our involvement. In Mexico and South America, we're kind of doing a joint thing there where you will sell it to people who can buy it, and people who can't afford it, we'll give it to them. Does that kind of cover everything?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay,
Sounds good.
cool. I think we got
Sounds good,
ourselves an
man.
agreement.
Thanks.
Nice, cool. Now, do we want to? No, I don't want to pay to print it up. We got
You
time
just
to write it.
write it.
Yeah. Okay. I got the worst handwriting.
Oh, it's not worse than mine, I promise you right now.
Okay. And I have a promotional Grant Thornton pen.
Oh, that's where I'm gonna be working.
Oh, cool, nice. Yeah, I went on a tour there.
Okay.
So we're doing prep for Meet the Firms and
Oh,
everything.
okay, yeah.
And we did a whole thing that was pretty nice.
Yeah, I did that last year.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Did you meet anyone?
I met the recruiter there. Her name starts with an S. I forget.
I know Holly.
It's like Shannon.
Shannon, yeah.
Shannon.
Shannon
Yeah.
Farrow,
Yeah, we met Shannon. Yeah, and I think that I think that Grant Thornton is definitely in the ballpark of where I'm looking at.
Yeah.
I think I'm looking at them, BDO, DHG, and maybe like Clifton Larson, Allen,
Okay.
or something like that. I'm not trying to go to the Big Four.
Yeah.
I got a life that I want to live.
Yeah.
All right. And your company's name one more time.
It is Technogen, one word.
Technogen. All right.
G-E-N, yeah.
Let me write that. Technogen. There we go. Okay, so United Nations Standing Committee on World Hunger.